Welcome to the Vital Spirit podcast. I'm Dr. Kelly Livingston, a naturopathic physician and your guide to a new health reality, one that connects body, mind, and spirit. Together, we'll dive deep into the art and science of holistic healing. Through working with hundreds of women through midlife transitions, I've discovered something profound. Most of our physical and emotional challenges are rooted in a maladaptive stress response, and true healing begins when we regulate our nervous system. Each episode will explore complex health topics in simple, empowering ways, uncover the deeper wisdom within each of us, and share practical tools for nervous system regulation to help you awaken your vital force and create lasting wellness. So, if you're ready to reconnect with yourself, your health, and your purpose, let's begin this journey together so you can experience life more fully human and deeply healed. Hi, and welcome back to the Vital Spirit podcast. I'm Dr. Kelly Livingston, and this is part 2 of the conversation we started last week on the art of self-care as medicine. In the last episode, we talked about how to begin thinking differently about your body, how to recognize patterns, and how to understand what your system is doing, and how to move out of just reacting to symptoms and attempting to suppress them. Now, I want to bring this into something even more practical for you. And I want to talk about, what does this actually look like when you're caring for your body at home? What do you do when something starts to shift? How do you respond in real time? And how do you not immediately reach for something external to fix it? This is where your home becomes part of your healing system. And this is where the work really starts to come alive for patients. And this is where hydrotherapy gets highlighted as well in my work with patients, because it's one of the oldest and most elegant naturopathic tools we have. Water is medicine. You can go back to our episode on hydration and hydrotherapy, and I'll probably have one expanding even more on how to do hydrotherapy at home. But physiologically, water changes circulation and it changes immune response. We can use water to impact our nervous system tone. We can use it to support elimination, and it's going to help in how the body is organizing itself. So, for example, a contrast shower in the morning, if your body feels sluggish and needs a circulatory wake up, can be a great idea. So, finishing your shower with cold, or maybe a hot Epsom salt bath in the evening when your system is overstimulated and having trouble letting go of the day. You're also going to have that counter cooling effect after you take a hot bath, which will get your body into the right state to have deep, restful sleep. We might use water in the form of steam inhalation when the sinuses are congested. So learning to utilize steam showers and maybe adding essential oils to that steam shower to prevent a sinus infection when it's starting to brew. Maybe you've reached for your immune supportive herbs like echinacea and elderberry in that same moment, and you're adding in the layer of hydrotherapy and an indicated homeopathic remedy. One of my favorite hydrotherapy tools are magic or warming socks. So if you're feeling congested or like you're coming down with something, you can take a pair of cotton socks. You can make sure that your body's nice and warm. So maybe take a bath or a shower first and take those cotton socks. You're going to dip them into cool water. You're going to wring them out so they're still wet. You're going to put them on your dry, warm feet, and you're going to put a pair of dry wool socks over them, cover up, and go to bed. This works amazing with kids. That's why we call it magic socks. But the hydrotherapy is going to work on pulling congestion down. It's going to stimulate your immune response and white blood cell count and help your body to fight infection off. So using water, compresses, baths, showers, hydrotherapy is such a potent tool. Warmth applied to the abdomen or chest, or if you do have a fever, you can apply a cool pack to your abdomen or chest. Part of why this works is because the body responds to controlled stress, and hydrotherapy creates a predictable stimulus that trains vascular tone, improves circulation, and influences immune activity. When you alternate hot, cold, you create a pumping effect in the vasculature, and this enhances lymphatic movement. Remember, it's all about lymphatic movement and detox, right? So, when we're engaging adaptive mechanisms in the nervous system, we're not just relaxing the body, we're actually training it to respond more effectively. Again, instead of suppressing that symptom. When the body has a fever, it has a fever to get rid of what it's trying to kill. So we don't want to suppress that fever. We want to work with it. And hydrotherapy is a great way to do this. And I just think there's something so beautiful about the fact that some of the most effective tools are also the least glamorous. And that's true naturopathic medicine. So maybe you don't want to eat raw garlic and honey or drink lemon water and apple cider vinegar and water, but these tools are designed to work with our body so that our body can produce the immune response that it is meant to produce instead of suppression. And then there's the environment because the body is not only responding to what you intentionally do and put on it or in it, but it's responding to everything that it's also immersed in. So what you clean with and what you do put on your skin or breathe in the air, what you sleep in, the environment that you're sleeping in, or what you're exposed to every day in the air that maybe you're not realizing. So, in a system that's more sensitive or having more difficulty detoxing, or in a nervous system that's more reactive, these inputs can matter more. So, as we work together and we learn all the natural tools and we learn the seeds of health, we absolutely talk about the environment that our terrain is in. Reducing this environmental toxic load is not about perfection. We take baby steps, one change at a time. And from a clinical perspective, what we're really doing is lowering the total burden. So we're reducing the amount of input that your immune system has to process every day. We're reducing endocrine disruption. Maybe we're removing plastics from your daily life as step one. We're reducing background inflammatory signaling. And when that baseline load decreases, the system has more capacity to regulate. So you're going to see those homeopathic remedies, those cell salts, and those herbs work better. And when you put all of this together, the framework becomes really clear. Let's take something like seasonal allergies, for example. It's no longer just about pollen or being allergic to something in the environment. It's about threshold. It's about your bucket overflowing, right? It's about your terrain and how reactive or stable your system already is before the exposure to that pollen even happens. So I think I'll probably do an allergy episode next since it's that time of year here in Connecticut. But instead of asking, how do I stop this? How do I stop this allergic reaction? We ask, what is my immune system responding to? What is my threshold right now? What's going on in my gut? Are my bowels moving daily? Is my liver burdened because our liver processes histamine? How well am I even clearing histamine to take on an extra histamine burden? How dysregulated is my nervous system? Am I sleeping well, or am I already in a reactive state before that pollen even hits my nose and mouth and I breathe it in? Because if I'm thinking naturopathically, allergies are rarely just about pollen. They're usually about reactivity plus terrain state. And now your tools change, right? We just went over so many different tools we have available to us. So maybe bitters are helpful here because there is congestion as part of the picture and the liver needs support. And so maybe we're using liver supportive herbs that also help our bowels move. Maybe hydration is key here because the whole system is dry and irritated. Or maybe nasal rinses and hydrotherapy are reducing the immediate toxic burden. Maybe we need to look at your microbiome and support histamine balance within the microbiome and the bacteria in your gut because your immune threshold is being shaped by your gut. And maybe you need fewer inflammatory foods during that season and a focus on quercetin rich foods or mast cell stabilizing foods like apples. And certain herbs might be useful. Maybe you actually are taking quercetin and you're using histaminum homeopathically. But the biggest piece might be that nervous system regulation piece, right? So, whole person care and living in alignment with nature cure takes into account all of these when we're thinking about something as simple as allergies. And allergies are usually one of those things that as we work together, patients say, I don't even get allergies anymore because we've worked on all of these burdens to the terrain and the system is no longer overflowing. So we've increased that threshold. We've increased the nervous system's window of tolerance. We've reduced histamine burden and we've increased clearance. And we've stabilized that mast cell response by modulating autonomic tone and making the food that we eat a medicine and a priority versus grabbing things that will congest our system and slow it down, creating that overflow and that bucket overflow, which results in allergy symptoms. So the same exposure, the same environmental exposure, but now we have a different response. This also applies to something like PMS, especially in midlife. So it becomes so much less about managing PMS symptoms and much more about recognizing what is happening in that phase. So you might have more congestion and sensitivity and irritability. You might have breast tenderness or more emotional reactivity. And by noticing that first, right, and then giving your body more support and space and movement when needed and nourishment and magnesium and a homeopathic remedy, maybe sepia is your remedy at this time of the month, and gentleness with your body instead of force. And this is going to be where we see an interplay too between hormones and neurotransmitters and the nervous system. So as estrogen's fluctuating and maybe progesterone is declining, GABA signaling is changing and serotonin is influenced. So all of this is playing a role in how your mood changes through this neuroendocrine shift. And our response needs to reflect all of that. So, a woman the week before her period might need less stimulation, more focus on blood sugar stability to keep regularity and less reactivity in the system. We might need to sleep a little bit more and focus on our nervous system, have more magnesium rich foods and herbal support like those calming nervines and maybe some GABA and theanine to take the edge off. So, as you can see, this is a completely different relationship to symptoms. And this is what I mean when I say I want women to begin thinking a little more like a naturopath in their own lives. Not because I want you to self diagnose everything or never get help, but because I want you to stop feeling helpless in the face of ordinary physiologic shifts. And I want women to know that the home can hold medicine, that the kitchen can be medicine, that a cup of ginger tea can be medicine, that a castor oil pack to help move your bowels and reduce congestion can be medicine, and that a homeopathic remedy, when chosen wisely, can be medicine. Hot and cold water, medicine. Sleep, light, and breath all can be medicine for your system when you're using Nature Cure. And there's another layer here that I think is really important because everything we've talked about so far exists within the physical body, but the body is not only physical. During my third and fourth year of medical school, I realized something really important. I was learning biochemistry and pathology and physiology and pharmacology and doing all my specialty naturopathic rotations, but I wasn't learning how to touch patients in a therapeutic way. So I really, really wanted to know, where is someone holding tension? How do I support release beyond prescribing an herb or a homeopathic remedy? So I sought that out and I trained in Reiki and I trained in craniosacral therapy. And what I found was that these were missing tools or hands-on therapies that I could then implement with patients in clinic. From a scientific perspective, we know the body is electrical. The nervous system communicates through electrical signals. The heart and brain generate measurable electromagnetic fields. And from a more traditional medicine perspective, there are systems like chakras and nadis and meridians and energy centers. They're all describing pathways of energetic flow. So earlier in this episode, I mentioned how stagnation leads to disease. Now, that applies not only to lymph and blood and digestion and bile and elimination pathways, but also to energy, emotion, and stored experiences or trauma. So, what does stuck energy look like clinically? It might be tightness in your chest, or a lump in your throat, or jaw tension, or holding and guarding in the abdomen, or chronic pain patterns. You might have emotional loops that never seem to discharge, or a sense that a certain area of the body is dense or numb or guarded. The body stores patterns of response, and through attention, breath, gentle touch, we can begin to influence those patterns. So, this is not separate from science, it's an extension of it, and it's something that we can start to do at home on our own. And this is where self-healing through touch becomes so tangible. So you can begin with something very simple. You can just sit quietly and start to scan your body and ask yourself, where's my attention being drawn? Not where you think something is wrong, but where is your body actually pulling your awareness? And then you can place one or both of your hands on that area. Touch is not random. Touch increases interoception and it calms the nervous system and it can create a container of safety. From an energetic perspective, it directs awareness and flow. And then you can just breathe into that area. Soften, stay, don't force anything. Don't try to fix anything. Just create the conditions for the body to move under your hand. Sometimes that does look like just simply placing your hand on your chest or on your belly and breathing until something softens. Sometimes it looks like noticing the emotions that arise, noticing sadness in the stomach or pressure in the chest or anxiety in the jaw or tension in the pelvis, and just staying with that area long enough for something to begin to shift. The more you do this, the more you will notice that the body is directing itself toward wholeness and balance. And if there is physical pain or heaviness, one practice I teach is what I think of as a pain drain. So you can place your left hand over the area of pain, let's just say it's your head, and then place your right hand down toward the earth. And you can imagine that stagnant energy breaking up or moving through the body. If there's pain in your head under your hand, you can imagine that pain breaking up and moving through the body, draining down through your right arm, down into the ground. And then you can picture new energy, light, warmth, spaciousness invited in through the hand that you have over the area of pain. Take a deep, clearing breath in and focus on what is ready to release. So allow the earth to hold what your body no longer needs. Allow the earth to take and drain everything that your hand broke up and released. And invite healing in where you've been holding. I actually have a Reiki symbol tattooed on my arm, which I know is not technically the right thing to do if you're a Reiki practitioner, but I have it there as a reminder that I can call in the energy and power of the universe. I can call in the healing for both myself and my patients. And whether someone uses that exact language or not, the deeper point is this: you can place your hands on your own body and participate in directing your healing. Energy in motion is healing. And stagnation, whether lymphatic, emotional, fascial, or energetic, contributes to symptoms. So, movement, flow, attention, awareness, and touch help restore coherence. This is also where mindfulness becomes deeply practical and important. So, mindfulness based stress reduction, which again, I can have a whole episode on, or MBSR, has real evidence behind it. And what it is training is not passivity, it is awareness without immediate reactivity. So, it's helping you observe sensation, thought, and emotion without being completely hijacked by them. So, through things like body scans and breath awareness and gentle seated observation and noticing tension without immediately bracing against it or judging it, or learning how to stay with sensation safely, these are not just mental exercises. They actually influence the nervous system, your immune function, inflammatory pathways, and stress physiology. They're actually going to change cortisol levels. And that's where daily regulating practices really become the glue to all of this at home healing, because the body wants rhythm. And most dysregulated systems are not lacking effort. Sometimes they're working too hard. They're really lacking rhythm and input. So that's why I talk all about how morning light matters and light exposure influencing your suprachiasmatic nucleus, which regulates your hormone timing and your metabolic function and your sleep wake cycles. Disruption in this system is what's impacting your rhythm of your cortisol and your melatonin and your insulin and your inflammatory pathways. So restoring rhythm is not just lifestyle advice, it's foundational physiology. So getting up at the same time every day and getting out into the sun for just a few minutes and having a regulating practice is providing that container of safety every single day and preventing illness. Movement throughout the day, hydration, meals that actually stabilize your system, pausing to do a breath work, moments of sensory downshift, dimming the lights at night, less stimulation in the evening. All these practices help the system to recognize that it's safe to descend into rest. Even a gentle breathwork practice for 1 to 3 minutes can make a world of difference. Those long, slow exhales and engaging the diaphragm when we breathe, a few minutes of stillness, a few minutes outside in light, a brief walk after meals, all of these rituals tell the body it's safe, it can relax, it can heal, it can rest. And this is where the Seeds of Health framework becomes embodied. Breath influences vagal tone, hydration affects circulation, bowels, and lymph, and food is shaping your microbiome, your levels of inflammation, your blood sugar, and your hormones. Movement is keeping things from being stagnant, and connection changes the nervous system's sense of safety. So when I'm working with a patient, I might highlight, okay, we're going to work on a particular seed of health, but every single day we are watering them. These are the conditions that allow the V's to function. At a certain point, healing stops being something you chase and it becomes something you live. You become someone who has a healthy lifestyle. You begin to notice symptoms earlier and respond to them sooner. You begin to support your body instead of to override it. And what I see clinically is that as patients move through this process, especially when we're working deeply with the gut-brain axis and nervous system regulation, they begin to internalize this way of thinking. And they no longer need as much external direction. So they begin to anticipate what their body will need. And they recognize patterns before they fully are expressed. So you're starting to also trust your observations and trust your gut instincts and intuition. And that's when your relationship with your body really changes. And you're no longer trying to find the right pill or protocol. You're becoming someone who knows how to listen to your body and knows which tool to reach for in your at-home medicine cabinet. The more you learn to listen, the more intelligent your choices become. And the more intelligent your choices become, the more your home changes and your daily routine changes. That medicine cabinet shifts from over-the-counters and pharmaceuticals to nature cure tools that work with your body. And your confidence in this changes. So gradually your body changes too. Not because you found the perfect answer or the right protocol, but because you became someone who knows how to pay attention to what the body needs, to what it's telling you, how to support your terrain with watering those seeds of health every day, and how to respond before everything becomes an acute healing crisis. So this is not about doing everything all at once, right? We've talked all about the therapeutic order and the order of operations. It's not about overhauling your entire home overnight, but it is about becoming more skillful one step at a time and more observant and more participatory in the small daily moments where health is either supported or interrupted. And once that shift happens, the body becomes so much easier to work with. If this resonated with you, this is exactly the kind of work that we do together inside the Vital Spirit method. And if you've not downloaded it yet, you can get your daily Seeds of Health journal or your free vagal tone guide. And that's a perfect place for you to begin. As always, this podcast is supported by Roots Deep Medicine and the Vital Spirit method. So please share it with someone who you think might benefit. And have a great day. I'll see you next week.